What if the greatest journey a human can take isn't across countries or to the moon, but within themselves? Gurdjieff called it the fourth way, a path not for monks or hermits, but for those who live, work, and love in the world. It's a way of waking up right in the middle of an ordinary life. So in this episode, we're presenting Gurdjieff's life-changing wisdom of the fourth way. If these are the kinds of exploration that call to your soul, please consider subscribing to this channel. We're here to share philosophical wisdom that brings clarity, depth, and empowerment to your life. Now, let's step into Gurdjieff's world and listen to his vision of the fourth way. I want you to start this journey by observing a person, maybe a friend or a colleague, as they move through their day. Observe how they react to situations without choice, repeating the same patterns of thought and emotion they have enacted thousands of times before. Notice how they believe their thoughts are their own, when in reality, these thoughts arrive like weather systems, passing through consciousness without any genuine decision or awareness. Then, start observing yourself. Why, you may ask? It's because of the recognition that changed everything for me. It came during an ordinary moment that suddenly revealed itself as extraordinary. I was walking down a familiar street, my mind occupied with the usual parade of concerns and imaginings, when something shifted. For perhaps 3 seconds, I became aware that I was walking, that my body was moving through space, that consciousness was observing itself in action. Those 3 seconds contained more genuine life than the previous 3 years combined. In that brief flash of awareness, I understood that what I had been calling being conscious was actually a form of deep sleep, a mechanical functioning that mimicked consciousness while remaining fundamentally absent from the present moment. This recognition was simultaneously devastating and exhilarating. Devastating because it revealed how much of my life I had spent in a state of automatism, like a complex machine performing its programmed functions. Exhilarating because it showed that another state of being was possible, a state of genuine presence, real consciousness, an actual life that is fully awake and responsible. The human being, as they exist in ordinary circumstances, is essentially a biological machine responding to stimuli according to patterns established by heredity, culture, and random experience. Someone insults you and anger arises automatically. Someone praises you and pleasure appears without any conscious choice. These reactions happen with the regularity of clockwork, yet people believe they are choosing their responses, making decisions, living consciously. I began to study this mechanical nature with the precision of a watchmaker examining gears and springs. Every human function, thinking, feeling, moving, sensing, operates according to its own mechanical laws, running like separate machines within the larger machine of personality. The thinking function produces thoughts whether we want them or not. The emotional function generates feelings according to its own patterns. The body performs its movements through habit and reflex. The shocking discovery was that these machines run themselves perfectly well without any conscious awareness whatsoever. You can live an entire lifetime, accomplish great things, experience intense emotions, formulate complex thoughts, all while remaining fundamentally asleep, mechanically responding to life rather than consciously participating in it. This is the human condition in its ordinary state, a complex biological system functioning in a state of hypnotic sleep, believing itself to be awake simply because eyes are open and thoughts are moving through consciousness. Throughout history, Humanity has developed three traditional paths for attempting to awaken from this mechanical sleep: the way of the body through ascetic discipline, the way of emotion through devotional practice, and the way of mind through intellectual development. Each path addresses one aspect of human functioning while neglecting the others. The person who develops only their body remains mechanically emotional and intellectually asleep. The devotee who cultivates only feeling stays mechanically physical and mentally unconscious. The philosopher who trains only thinking continues mechanically reacting emotionally and physically. These traditional paths also share another limitation. They require withdrawal from ordinary life into monasteries, ashrams, or academic institutions. They demand that seekers abandon normal activities and responsibilities to pursue awakening in isolated conditions designed specifically for inner work. I discovered something different, a fourth approach that synthesizes all three traditional paths while remaining fully engaged with ordinary life. This fourth way works simultaneously with body, emotion, and mind, using the challenges and friction of daily existence as raw material for transformation rather than obstacles to be avoided. The fourth way requires no special clothing, no religious rituals, no withdrawal from family and professional responsibilities. Instead, it transforms every moment of ordinary life into an opportunity for awakening, every challenge into a teaching, every mechanical reaction into a chance to become conscious. The secret of the fourth way lies in learning to use life itself as a school for consciousness, where every experience becomes an opportunity to remember yourself. Self-remembering. This practice forms the foundation of all fourth way work. It means maintaining awareness of yourself as you perform actions, think thoughts, experience emotions. It means being present to your own presence, conscious of your own consciousness, awake within the dream of ordinary existence. This sounds simple, yet attempting it reveals how profoundly difficult it actually is. Try right now to remember yourself while listening to these words. Feel your body sitting or standing, notice your breath moving, observe the thoughts interpreting these sentences, and remain aware that you are aware. How long can you maintain this state? Seconds? Perhaps a minute if you strain with enormous effort. The typical person cannot remember themselves for more than a few moments before mechanical thinking reasserts itself, pulling awareness back into the dream of unconscious functioning. We spend perhaps 5 minutes out of every 24 hours in a state of genuine presence, the rest lost in mechanical reactions and automated thoughts. The fourth way teaches practical methods for increasing these moments of self-remembering, for building capacity to remain present during the activities that fill ordinary days. Through sustained work, the sleeping soul that lies trapped within personality can gradually awaken and assume conscious direction of the machine it inhabits. Awakening consciousness requires intentional shocks, moments that interrupt the mechanical flow of automatism and create space for genuine awareness to emerge. Life provides shocks naturally, unexpected events, crises, moments of beauty or terror that jolt us temporarily out of habitual patterns. The problem is that these natural shocks are random and their effects temporary. Within hours or days, mechanical sleep reasserts itself and we forget that we ever awakened. The fourth way teaches how to create intentional shocks, deliberate interruptions of mechanical functioning that serve as reminders to remember oneself. These shocks might be as simple as a mental alarm that sounds at intervals throughout the day, prompting the question, "Am I present right now?" They might involve deliberately performing familiar actions with conscious attention, transforming routine activities into exercises in awareness. One of the most powerful shocks comes from observing our own mechanical nature without judgment or identification. When you catch yourself reacting with habitual anger, habitual fear, habitual desire, something remarkable becomes possible. You can witness the reaction without being consumed by it, creating a space between stimulus and response where consciousness can operate. This observation reveals something profound about human identity. The mechanical reactions, the automatic thoughts, the habitual emotions, these are not who you actually are. They are simply functions running in the biological machine you inhabit. Your true nature is the awareness that can observe these functions, the consciousness that can choose whether to identify with mechanical reactions or remain present as witnessing awareness. One of the hardest truths to accept is that the unified self we assume exists is actually a convenient fiction masking a multiplicity of separate selves that take turns controlling the machine. There is the self that enthusiastically commits to waking early for meditation practice. Then there is the different self that, when the alarm sounds, cannot understand why anyone would choose to leave a warm bed. These are not the same entity pretending different attitudes. They are genuinely different selves, each with its own desires, beliefs, and patterns of behavior. Throughout any given day, dozens or hundreds of these selves rotate through consciousness, each believing itself to be the real I, each making promises that other selves will have to keep or break. This explains why people so often fail to follow through on intentions. The self that made the commitment is no longer present when the time comes to act. The fourth way teaches us to observe this multiplicity without trying to immediately change it. Simply witnessing the parade of different selves that claim to be me begins to create something that wasn't there before. A persistent awareness that observes all the selves without identifying completely with any single one. This observing awareness gradually grows stronger through the practice of self-remembering, becoming a stable center of consciousness that can consciously choose which mechanical self to allow expression in any given situation. This is the beginning of genuine will, the capacity to act from consciousness rather than mechanical compulsion. Human beings can be understood as houses with 3 floors, each representing a different level of consciousness and each corresponding to different qualities of experience. The ground floor represents ordinary mechanical consciousness, where most people spend their entire lives. Here, thoughts happen to you, emotions happen to you, sensations happen to you. Everything is received passively, reacted to automatically. This is the realm of sleep, where life feels like something that happens to you rather than something you participate in consciously. The second floor represents self-remembering, the state of being present to your own presence. Here, you experience yourself experiencing, think about yourself thinking, feel yourself feeling. Time seems to slow down or expand, and life acquires a quality of vividness and intensity that ordinary consciousness never touches. The world appears in higher definition, colors brighter, sensations sharper, meanings more transparent. The third floor represents objective consciousness, a state so far beyond ordinary experience that words can barely point toward it. Here, the separation between observer and observed dissolves. Here, you experience yourself as consciousness itself rather than as an individual consciousness. This is the destination toward which all spiritual paths ultimately lead. The fourth way provides a practical ladder for climbing from the ground floor to the second floor, with occasional glimpses into the third. Each rung of this ladder consists of sustained efforts at self-remembering, each effort building capacity for longer periods of genuine presence. The most difficult truth about the fourth way is that awakening is not a permanent achievement, but a moment-by-moment choice that must be renewed constantly. You can spend years developing capacity for self-remembering, yet the mechanical sleep always waits to reclaim consciousness the instant attention wavers. This is why the work requires school, requires others who share the same aim, and requires regular reminders and deliberate shocks to interrupt the powerful magnetism of mechanical sleep. Many people imagine spiritual awakening as a final liberation, a permanent state of enlightenment where consciousness remains stable and effort ceases. The fourth way reveals a different truth. Consciousness is something that must be earned fresh each moment, paid for with the effort of remembering yourself while life pulls you in 1,000 directions toward mechanical sleep. This ongoing effort is simultaneously the greatest burden and greatest gift of conscious life. Burden because it demands vigilance that never relaxes, attention that never rests, awareness that must be constantly renewed. Gift because each moment of genuine presence contains more life, more meaning, more reality than years of mechanical existence. The work transforms from obligation to celebration when you discover that consciousness itself is the reward for being conscious, that presence itself is the treasure you were seeking, that awakening moment by moment is more valuable than any permanent state could ever be. So what's the exact solution? It's in understanding that sleep and awakening are not static conditions, but dynamic processes, choices we make moment by moment through where we place our attention. The fourth way offers no magic formula, no guaranteed technique, no easy path to permanent awakening. What it offers is the possibility of stealing moments of genuine consciousness from the mechanical sleep that claims most human life. Each stolen moment strengthens capacity for the next. Each period of self-remembering builds the muscle of awareness. The transformation happens gradually, almost imperceptibly, like dawn breaking so slowly that you cannot pinpoint the exact moment darkness becomes light. Suddenly, you realize that you are spending more time present than absent, more moments aware than asleep, more of your life actually lived rather than mechanically endured. This is the promise and the path. Consciousness itself becomes your teacher, and each moment you remember yourself becomes both the journey and the destination.